it's time to do an update for my LiquidSprings review. After 20,000 miles of travel with LiquidSpring, sorry. I have to say, without a doubt, for me, well worth the investment. Right now I'm driving along a 4-lane divided road in West Texas, not an interstate. A few chuck holes here and there. But just driving along and noticing how much better it is to drive a motorhome without the rear spring stack buckboarding your coach and its contents as you drive down the road at 70 miles an hour. The noises coming from the back are next to none. Okay, we pack pretty well, but there's always a rattle in a motorhome, and the LiquidSprings take care of it. I had previously been skeptical about the improvement of the ride, but now that I've got 20,000 miles on it, I know without a doubt that it was money well spent for me. It rides better, I would say, than an 8-bag diesel pusher, and I have owned an 8-bag diesel pusher, as well as a 2-bag and a 4-bag motorhome. Driven air ride trucks. I have yet to really drive for an extended time a Super C on rear air with spring front, but I can't imagine it being better than this. The ride is comfortable, compliant, quieter as a result. I've made great use of the adjustable settings. I generally keep it on comfort, which is a little more steer input required. The normal setting is good if you got a little wind, and if there's quite a bit of crosswind, I have gone to the sport mode, and it does help settle things down quite a bit. So any negative thoughts or cautionary thoughts that I might have had when I first had this installed, they're gone. Maintenance issues. I had to go back because it kept shutting down on me as I was driving, and I'd have to power down and power back in order to get it going again. Then after I had it at Renegade for a few months to do some upgrades, I hopped back in the coach and headed south, fortunately, towards Lafayette, where I had my LS installed, and it was not working at all. I could not get it to power up. Upon arrival, they found that the module had not been firmly connected, that the clips that hold the wires in place were not fully engaged, and that's pretty much gone away now. Occasionally I'll have to power down and power back up while I'm driving. I'll notice the green light bouncing from normal height on the right side of the height adjustment on the screen, on the display. It'll flash a green light above the normal light, and the only way to get it back to correct is to hit the off button, power it down for a second, power it right back up, and then everything's good to go again. I still don't know what that's about, but it's not much of a nuisance as long as I know what's going on. The True Earth I haven't been able to use too much. It meets its limitations rather quickly, but it has been useful at times. I just recalibrated this morning on a scale, so I'm going to try that again. I had them recalibrated at LiquidSprings when I was there a few weeks back, and it worked okay, and then got out of calibration, I think, again. So I think that's a minor thing, and they're constantly working on that as well. Lowering the suspension before setting your jacks. When you pull in for the night and you're ready to hook up or boondock, you get to lower that suspension 3.5 inches, and it makes your hydraulic jacks provided you have them. So much more effective. They have a lot more travel to work with to get you set up for the night, to level yourself out if you're not using the True Earth, that is. And then I have made use of the lowering to get under some trees and some bridges. Went under 15 miles an hour. It's been helpful for that. I've used the height increase of 3.5 inches quite a few times when I was skeptical about going over some humps in and out of large gradient driveways and whatnot. I've also used it to drive over a curb when I found that necessary. So there's just so many pluses. I would hate to have to go back to spring ride, huge buckboard spring stack in the rear of my motorhome. Now this is on an F550, so it was rock solid on the road before I had the LS. I didn't put the LS on to improve the road manners, handling wise. As far as staying put in the lane, I didn't put it on. Not like the F53 chassis where your motorhome is wandering all over the highway. So I didn't benefit from that aspect particularly. But having this thing just float down the road, it's just a remarkable system. And I know some people are concerned about the long-term maintenance, or what do I do if I'm on the road to Alaska and I have problems? Well, I just learned this last trip that it's okay to drive it if the system fails. It won't be smooth. It'll feel like your old motorhome without the system. But the valves apparently lock, and I was concerned about doing harm because it wasn't functioning. And a phone call to them put me at ease about that. It does no harm. It just rides rough when you don't have it functioning. So it's not like it's going to leave you stranded, as far as I can tell. So we've had it back east. I've had it in snow. I've had it in heavy rain, downpours. Haven't done any off-roading yet with it particularly. I'm headed back west now to home, which is Southern California. So I will be doing some off-road stuff to tow the Jeep out to some BLM camping. Maybe I'll give it a report on that, how it does off-road. But this vehicle, F550, is four-wheel drive. My vehicle is an F550 four-wheel drive diesel under a Renegade Coach 35-foot MDS. So it runs a little bit heavy as well, and the LiquidSprings takes care of that issue if it were to be overloaded. These run pretty close to their weights going down the road, this particular model. So I've added taller tires like they put on the F600 with more capacity, and then added this suspension. So I'm not too concerned about bumping a tad over the gross vehicle weights. I'm not even close on the axles, but I'm close on the gross. So that's another added benefit. I went with a 2-inch lift, just FYI. I went with a 2-inch lift. I probably would have gone with a 4, knowing what I know now, but it is nice to be a little shorter. My total height going down the road was about 12.1, now runs about 12.3, and I can lower it just a tad under 12 feet, so that's really functional for low bridges or some gas stations occasionally, and definitely for some tree branches at Cracker Barrel and Walmart and those types of stops for a quick overnight. And in fact, some of the better RV parks, I've had trouble with some branches and it's helped. What am I forgetting? I'm trying to do this in a one take here. If you have any questions, ask. Write in some comments. Send me a note. Let me know how your experience is. If I failed to cover something here, let me know. I'm sure there's plenty I haven't covered. I had mine done at LiquidSprings in Lafayette. There are plenty of other installers doing it these days. plenty of service centers as well. My experience with Liquid Springs has been fantastic. The employees and service there are top notch, and if I were to get another motorhome, this one's a 2020 year model, I sure would hate to have it without Liquid Springs. The only option would be is if you had an air ride bus, a diesel pusher, or a Super C because you wanted the extra towing and cargo capacity. And then you're kind of, I don't know, I'll have to ask Liquid Springs if they do anything for the spring ride on the Freightliner chassis, on the front that is. I don't think you would need it on the rear, although it is, I think, superior to air ride. The ride is compliant enough and adjustable on the fly enough automatically on a Freightliner airbag on the rear axle, I believe. So that's it, I think. Make some comments. Let me know what you think, what your thoughts are, and if there's anything I forgot to cover. Signing off somewhere in West Texas, just west of